Traveling back to the 18th year of Kangxi, he became the Crown Prince of Yanping in the Southern Ming Dynasty, Zheng Kezang. His father, Zheng Jing, was about to pass away. Inside, he had uncles and powerful officials sharpening their swords profusely, while outside, the Qing Dynasty was eyeing him, preparing to shave his hair and change his attire. I want to revive the Ming Dynasty. Where is the isolated system? Drip-by-drop wonder system launched Zheng Kezang. It is our duty to revive the glory of the heavenly dynasty. Keywords of the novel. Nanming. I can build wonders without pop-ups. Nanming. I can build wonders. Download the complete set of TXT. Nanming. I can build wonders. Latest chapters to read. Chapter 1. Wonder Building System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 2. Monument Site Selection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 3. Dongning Infantry Code. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 4. Sugar and Gunpowder. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Sugar and Gunpowder. Since exchanging the secret recipe for sweet gunpowder and bleached sugar, Zheng Kezang feels that he is about to take off. Because in these two secret formulas, the most needed ones are sugar and sulfur. Little Izhou Island is short of everything, except for sulfur and sugar. Izhou Island is one of the main sugar-producing areas in China, with a long history of sugarcane cultivation. Therefore, Izhou Island is known as the Kingdom of Sugarcane and the Sweet Island of the East. Compared to Fujian on the other side, Izhou Island has a warmer climate, more rainfall, and both plains and hilly areas are suitable for sugarcane growth. Therefore, the sugarcane grown in Izhou Island is thick and tall, which brings high additional income and quickly spreads to all of Izhou Island. On the other hand, Izhou Island is located at the extinction boundary between the Pacific Plate and the Eurasian Plate, where there are many volcanoes, earthquakes, frequent crustal activity, and geological instability. When a volcano erupts, it releases a large amount of gas, dust, and water vapor, which contains a large amount of sulfur dioxide. After a long period of accumulation, it will form sulfur. Sulfur is not only the main raw material of gunpowder, but also can form sulfur dioxide through combustion, and the main function of sulfur dioxide is bleaching. Sucrose can be fumigated with sulfur to obtain exceptionally pure white sugar. Sugar is an important fuel additive due to its high density, energy, and calories. In many supermarkets in later countries, there is a quantity limit on purchasing white sugar, as buying a large amount of white sugar may be used to make bombs and rockets. Just mix some white sugar in the black gunpowder, and the explosive power will increase exponentially. White sugar, which appears harmless to humans and animals, can actually be made into explosives with a power comparable to nuclear bombs under specific circumstances. In the Middle East battlefield of later generations, there was a bomb master named Sheikh Omar who once told reporters that his bombs could be made into ordinary hand grenades based on different doses of sugar. Rocket bombs with a range of over 12 kilometers can also be made, which will produce a combustion and explosion effect when exposed to high temperatures or strong vibrations. With sweet gunpowder, his homemade improvised hand grenades have also come to life. Recently, Li Gonggang received a secret task from His Highness Jiangwo. To purchase a sugar mill, an ancient sugar factory, and then select a few loyal servants to keep an eye on the sugar mill. He has great potential. Upon hearing this, Duke Li knew that the country wanted to engage in business and transactions. Is this feasible? Of course. How did the Zheng family get rich? Ahem, this may start with 0 yuan purchases on the East Asian sea surface. It's too long, let's not talk about it anymore. In short, Li Gonggang immediately arranged the small matter. Zheng Jing and Zheng Yin, two brothers with big eyes and small eyes, looked at the white sugar held in Zheng Kezang's hand. They swore that they had never seen such white sugar in so many years. Zheng Jing, Zheng Jing, from today on, I will appoint you as the steward of Tongliao. There must be no mistakes here, otherwise I will ask you a question. Yes, Your Highness Jiangwo. The two rough men were full of arrogance. They were servants of the Yanping prince's mansion, and it was pitiful to see that they had finally overcome it. From now on, this precious candy house will be their lifeline. Also, the key step for white sugar to turn white is to arrange for trustworthy workers to work on it. Don't let this secret leak out, do it well, and our country will receive a lot of rewards. Zheng Kezang patted the shoulders of the two brothers arrogantly. Li Gonggang next to him was amazed. 15-year-old Zheng Jiangwo, who had only read books on sages since childhood, actually knew how to make sugar. This is a great craft. Looking at this snow-white sugar, Li Gonggang knew that this sugar hut would be unbearable in the future. Your Highness, do you need your old age to buy more sugar houses? Li Gonggang exclaimed excitedly. No need for now, Lao Li. I'll give you a new task now. You can recruit craftsmen around Dongning Prefecture, and about 100 or 200 people will be enough. Those who know how to handle gunpowder and firearms will be given priority. Then, buy a small workshop and a batch of gunpowder, and bring this snow candy with you. It will be of great use to me, Zheng Kezang pondered. I'll take care of it now. After the snow sugar incident, Li Zhongjie, the old eunuch, was impressed by Zheng Kezang. As soon as he heard it had an effect, he felt like there was something new. Just as he finished giving orders, Zheng Kezang suddenly remembered that he had been busy with infantry training and sugar during this period, forgetting one of the most important things. It's his hero monument that has already started construction, and he hasn't had time to check on the project yet. Wonders are the main responsibility. The first task given by the system is actually very friendly. Overall, the amount of work for the monument is not huge, and the land area is not large. The main difficulty is that it requires a large amount of high-quality marble and professional carving masters. Fortunately, although the population of Izhou Island is small, a few carving masters can still handle it, otherwise Zheng Kezang would have had no choice. The construction site on the outskirts of Dongning Prefecture is in full swing, with some laborers working hard to move bricks and others pushing wooden unicycles to transport soil. It has to be said that the wisdom of the working people is infinite. The earliest unicycle can be traced back to the Han Dynasty, and by the Ming Dynasty, the construction of unicycles in the south was basically the same as modern times. Song Yingxing of the Ming Dynasty wrote in Tiangong Kaiwu. In the northern part of a unicycle, people push it behind, donkeys pull it in front, and in the southern part, the unicycle is pushed only by the power of one person. If he could get natural rubber, Zheng Kezang would immediately improve the tires of his unicycle. After all, he probably had to deal with this thing in his lifetime. As the saying goes, if you plan ahead, you will stand, if you don't plan ahead, you will give up. Zheng Kezang deeply reflected and had no time to worry about the spectacle project these days. As a result, today it seems that the people have already started laying the foundation. Next, he plans to memorize the knowledge of civil engineering from his past life, maybe one day he will need it. The Ming Dynasty did not have cement, but it has made relative progress and used brick and stone for foundation treatment. However, this time, the foundation of the monument still uses wooden pile composite foundation. Because the soil of Izhou Island is soft, it is more suitable for wooden pile addresses. In Tian Prefecture, also known as the Ming Palace Museum in Nanjing, uses this type of foundation structure. Thinking of the almost disappearing Nanjing Palace Museum in later generations, Zheng Kezang clenched his fist and looked in the direction of Yingtian Mansion. He had never traveled to Nanjing before, and looking at the remaining ruins, Zheng Kezang felt extremely regretful. Why is it also the Forbidden City? How did the Yingtian Mansion collapse? It turned out that the Palace Museum of Yingtian Prefecture had been repeatedly invaded by war, with two of the most severe damages. One was when the Qing army entered the border, and the greedy eight-banner soldiers were horrified by the grandeur of the palace. They immediately carried out destructive renovations on it, demolishing the main hall and transforming it into a yamen, military camp, or civilian house as a place for the flag people to live. In 1699 AD, Kangxi ordered the demolition and transportation of the well-preserved palace parts of the Yingtian Palace Museum to the Piety Temple in Putuo Mountain, Zhejiang, to build the Jiulong Guanyin Temple. The caisson on the top of this magnificent hall is carved with a pattern of 9 dragons coiling around and vying for pearls, which is the original structure of the 9 Dragons Hall in the Ming Palace. This symbol of the supreme position was originally strictly prohibited from the public, but Kangxi deliberately placed it in the Guanyin Hall to show the revered status of Guanyin Bodhisattva. But this kind of reverence is also demonstrated by the relics of the palace of the Ming Emperor, which indicates a certain contempt of foreign rulers towards the Han Emperor. Fortunately, he still has time. Tianfu and the Forbidden City can still be rescued. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. British East India Company. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 6. Team Opening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 7. Uncle and Nephew Filial Piety. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 8. Dongning Shenlei. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Dongning Shenlei. The temptation to make money was too great. Greedy Zheng Kezang knew well that he couldn't bear to part with his children and couldn't catch the wolf. He borrowed a little from the east and a little from the west, and with the savings he had plundered from the people over the years, he managed to scrape together 100,000 taels of silver. Zheng Kezang kept this matter very confidential and kept it to death. His good brothers Zheng Ming, Zheng Ji, Zheng Ro, and others were all kept in the dark. It is believed that after they knew about this, they would definitely fall out with Zheng Kang. Zheng Kezang was also pleased to see this happen. These people are all future murderers of him, causing internal conflicts and making it easier for each of them to break through. However, once his youth camp takes shape, these jumping clowns will line up and be executed if they make any moves. They will be sent to meet the Yongle Emperor and then slowly repent in the underworld. With the 100,000 silver sent by Zheng Kezang, Zheng Kezang was very pleased. With the first bucket of gold, many things could be easily solved. Li companion, collect the silver into my internal funds. Without my approval, no one else is allowed to touch my silver, even my grandmother. Zheng Kezang earnestly instructed the eunuch Li Zhongjie. I understand. To be honest, eunuch Li was particularly surprised. He also knew Zheng's seniority and had seen silver before. He was just amazed that this young man in his teens could earn so much silver. Dragons born and phoenixes born, truly worthy of being descendants of national surnames. Being young is the material for doing great things. As long as you can understand, I'll assign you a task, so and so on. Zheng Kezang stood up and whispered in a low voice to eunuch Li. A few days later, inside a secret firearms workshop in Dongning Prefecture. Su Laocheng, as his name suggests, looks exceptionally mature. At the age of only 35, he looks like a 50-year-old man. His hometown is Foshan Town, the imperial iron capital, and he has lived in Guangzhou for many years. Su Laocheng is not naturally mature, he is just a person with a difficult fate in troubled times. His parents were both killed by the sword of the Qing army, in the siege of Guangzhou led by Kangxi in 1650. In the 7th year of the Xuanji reign of the Qing Dynasty, the Qing army attacked Guangzhou, resulting in 700,000 deaths. In the eastern suburb of Wulonggang, Monk Xinxiu hired people to collect the remains, gather them for burial, bury their remains, and erected a monument. After his parents died, he fled back to his hometown, Foshan Town, and lived like a firesmith. 20 years later, his wife and children fell into the San Francisco Rebellion and once again became the fallen souls of the Qing army. That's why, at the age of only 35, he is so old. His only hope in this life is that the army of Prince Yanping can use his handmade firearms and cannons to end the fate of the Qing dynasty. Without the timeline when Zheng Jing crossed over, Su Guixin remained there and voluntarily joined the Ming-Jing army to resist the Qing army on the front line. In the end, the ship he was on was surrounded by the Qing navy, and he, who was determined not to surrender, fell into this small strait. For Su Laocheng, wrapping himself in a horse's clothing was a redemption, as he did not have to witness the final purification of the Qing dynasties who shone pollution with his own eyes. Returning to reality, just a few days ago, it was rumored that the Yanping prince's mansion was recruiting skilled firearms craftsmen, who were directly under the supervision of the state and received generous treatment. As an old craftsman in Foshan town, Su Laocheng is a bit confident in his skills. He has a deep blood feud with the Qing dynasty and has devoted his entire life to serving as a supervisor of the country. Isn't it beautiful? When it comes to Foshan town, it was truly famous during the Ming and Qing dynasties. In the Ming and Qing dynasties, the iron smelting industry in Foshan was once famous throughout the world, and Foshan ironware was also exported to the east and west, especially iron pots. Since the iron smelting industry is developed, firearms and cannons naturally cannot escape. Foshan firearms were at the top of the Ming and Qing dynasties, and during the Ming dynasty, there was a joke about Foshan. The Qing dynasty once bought Fulong machine guns from Portuguese people in Macau, but the cannons sold by the Macau people to the Ming emperor were made using Foshan's casting techniques and also made by Foshan craftsmen. The use of Foshan town's casting gun technology and the guns produced by Foshan craftsmen as original imported goods should also be considered as export to domestic sales. It is likely that the officials of the Ming dynasty who facilitated this business did not miss out on kickbacks. These days, Eunuch Li has been a bit worried. Zheng Kezang has been acting frequently and has even instructed him to gather a group of craftsmen, not knowing what to do. At first, he thought he was just going to set up a firearms workshop to produce the weapons needed by the youth camp. However, he didn't expect Xing Jiangwo to personally play drums in the workshop, in the rhythm of producing a carpenter crown prince from the Yanping prince's mansion. Zheng Kezang, who had just returned from the military camp and had not yet dried his sweat, was working enthusiastically there with the craftsmen led by Su Lao. "Lao Su, you all have a good view of me. I only perform once," Zheng Kezang said, pouring the white sugar he brought into the iron pot made in Foshan and starting to heat and stir-fry. The craftsmen next to him, such as Lao Su, looked a bit confused. They were not chefs, so why did they show them how to copy sugar? Perhaps they wanted them to become imperial chefs. While stir-frying, Zheng Kezang suddenly poured in a pile of black gunpowder and repeatedly talked to them about the ratio of white sugar and gunpowder. Old Su didn't react for a moment and thought to himself, "Your Highness, is this preparing to poison the Qing army? It doesn't seem very useful." After frying, Zheng Kezang smelled it and it was a bit sweet. The authentic sugar-coated shell raw material is perfect. After preparing the sweet gunpowder, Zheng Kezang recalled the method of making a simple wooden handle grenade given to him by the system. The next step is to demonstrate the true technique. This wooden handle grenade is also a coincidence. Zheng Kezang once saw its presence in the war game Battlefield 1. In the real World War I, it was a simple weapon made by the French army themselves. Not long after the outbreak of World War I in 1914, mobile warfare turned into rigid trench warfare, with both France and Germany harming each other on the Western Front, consuming huge amounts of ammunition, and logistics not always able to meet the needs of the front line. In this situation, the French army began to produce a wooden handle grenade using small parts commonly found in trenches. Due to its appearance resembling a brush, the French military referred to it as a brush. The basic structure of a hand grenade is a comb-shaped wooden board and a metal cylinder filled with explosives. The metal cylinder is tightly tied to the wooden board with thick iron wire and connected to a fuse. In order to enhance the fragmentation ability of hand grenades, the French army will also nail iron nails into wooden boards or directly tie the nails around metal cylinders with wire. After the fuse ignites, the explosive will detonate within 5.7 seconds, so French soldiers have enough time to throw the grenade out. It has been proven that although not as iconic as the famous German wooden handle grenades, these simple wooden handle grenades still provided a simple and effective means of killing for French soldiers during World War I. After all, a hand grenade with a large charge is still very good. It is worth mentioning that another reason why simple wooden handle grenades are widely used by the French army is their wooden handle structure. In fact, the French military initially developed this type of grenade with a wooden handle purely for the convenience of grip. However, after using it, they unexpectedly discovered that the throwing distance and accuracy of this simple grenade were better than their oval-shaped grenade, which was an advantage brought about by the lever principle of the wooden handle. This simple wooden handle grenade is really easy to handle. After some operation, Zheng Kezang made a finished product under the unknown gaze of others, only missing the lead wire. Due to the lack of basic industry, the lead wire here can only be made of hay, but the advantage is simplicity and practicality. In order to enhance his killing power, Zheng Kezang nailed many iron nails on the wooden board. "Everyone, let's go find a place outside to see if my Dongning thunderbolt works well," Zheng Kezang said as he ran towards the door. Everyone saw this and quickly followed suit. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Dongning Shenlei's first manifestation of power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Dongning Shenlei's first manifestation of power. On a small hill in the outskirts of Dongning Prefecture, Zheng Kezang, wearing a helmet, commanded everyone to use shovels to build a simple soil cover, preparing for the test detonation of hand grenades. "When I shout to squat down later, you must immediately squat down, otherwise you will die or be disabled. Don't blame your highness for not reminding you." Zheng Kezang instructed, "This grenade is not a joke. Its power is very strong, and it will not be good if it explodes on your own people. Guard Mao, prepare the fire switch, I'm going to start igniting the divine thunder." Zheng Kezang solemnly instructed the guards beside him, Mao Xing. This was his first time using such a dangerous thing, so be careful not to die before you succeed. Taking the torch handed over by Mao Xing, Zheng Kezang carefully pulled out a little of the hay wire, and then gently blew the torch. The torch, which originally had only a small amount of sparks, was quickly ignited. Seeing that there was a fire in the fire folder, Zheng Kezang quickly lit the hay wire with the fire folder and threw it into the camphor tree forest. Then he shouted loudly to the audience, "Everyone, squat down." Everyone didn't underestimate the power of the divine thunder in Jianguo's hand. It was important to have a small life, so they quickly obeyed the command and squatted down. With a loud bang, a white smoke and a large flame rose from the camphor tree forest, and the sound was terrifying. It was really like a thunderbolt, startling all these old men. After the white smoke dissipated, everyone quickly got up and ran to the camphor tree forest to see what happened, because the explosion was too intense, unlike the effect that a little gunpowder could cause. Eunuch Li and Old Su stared at the chaotic camphor tree forest with wide eyes, feeling unimaginable. They saw that many small camphor trees that had not yet grown had been blown down by the Dongning thunder, and the big trees were covered in fragments and rusty iron nails. They couldn't imagine that if they were to explode among the Tartars, they might not have been killed by the explosion, but would have been hit by these fragments and iron nails into their bodies. Most likely, they would still have to hang. Zheng Kezang is also a bit cunning. The iron nails were deliberately chosen to rust, which exploded on the Qing army. If he survived, he could also be infected with tetanus and die. Eunuch Li looked at the camphor tree forest in front of him and was deeply moved. If the Lord of the State had had this Dongning divine thunder, he must have already swept the world now, so that the Tartars would not have been so happy and carefree, ravaging the land of China recklessly. At the very least, the Battle of Yingtianfu, with the surname of Guiye, will not be narrowly defeated. At that time, the Zheng army had almost no cavalry, and even if they won the field battle, they could not eliminate the living power of the Tartars. The walls of the Yingtianfu city were high and wide, and the largest artillery carried by the Zheng army was only 5,000 pounds, with a power comparable to that of the 9-pound guns of the Western barbarians. In fact, the 9-pound cannon was already considered a heavy artillery, but attacking the top fortress in the world, Yingtian Prefecture, was not so easy because the Yangtze River was shallow at that time, and Zheng's ships and artillery could not be transported to the city, making it too difficult to attack the city. Moreover, at that time, there were about 170,000 soldiers with the surname Yi in the army, and the number of soldiers with armor was only 40,000 to 50,000. Moreover, the time of formation was too short, and most of them were from the righteous people of Fujian and Zhejiang, with blood and courage, morale, and coordination in the battle, which was really lacking. The elite veteran soldiers of the Zheng army were only a few tens of thousands. At that time, there were 4,000 soldiers stationed in the 8 banners of Yingtian Prefecture, more than 20,000 soldiers in the Green Camp, and a total of 40,000 troops that could assist in defense along the 2 rivers. It is difficult to attack and defend, relying on the tall and sturdy city walls. It is not difficult to defend the Zheng family army. If the national surname at that time had Dongning Shenlei, it must have been taken by Yingtianfu. Once Yingtianfu takes it, it is unknown who the world belongs to. Old Su next to him looked even more excited than Zheng Kezang, looking at Zheng Kezang as if he had seen a treasure. "Your Highness, please make sure to let me make the Dongning Divine Thunder," said Lao Su excitedly. "Old Su, how to make a divine thunder? Did you remember just now?" Zheng Kezang asked. Speaking of this, Old Su became confident. He didn't understand anything else, but Dongning Shenlei really had his hands on it. "Your Highness, Jiangua, has been completely recorded in the mind of the villain, please rest assured," Old Su confidently assured. "That's great. Now I'm announcing the establishment of a special team for Dongning Shenlei, with Su Laoqing as the team leader. The monthly salary is 2 or 2 months, and the others are 1 or 2 months, including food and accommodation. If there are significant contributors, generous rewards will be given depending on the situation." Zheng Kezang, with a bulging waist, is crazily painting pancakes, but these are real pancakes that craftsmen can see and eat in the future. Lao Su's interest in monthly money is not much now, and he only wants to make Dongning Shenlei. You should know that for every grenade he makes, he can send several Tartars to hell. The life of the Tartars is what Su Laoqing most desires. Li Banban, you need to ensure the supply of copper, iron, wood, sugar, and gunpowder needed for the production of Shenlei. You are fully responsible for the logistic supply of Shenlei's special team, and don't let me down. Furthermore, if there is not enough manpower, we will continue to recruit craftsmen." Zheng Kezang earnestly instructed eunuch Li Zhongjie. This so-called Divine Thunder Special Class, along with Lao Su, actually only has 10 people, and the manpower is really tight. However, at this stage, there are not many places that need to use Divine Thunder. After all, his youth camp only has 100 people, and they don't need it yet. As for the other armies of the Zheng family, Zheng Kezang can only apologize. Before Zheng Kezang fully gained control of the military, hand grenades would never be distributed to them. After all, Nanming was well versed in the essence of internal strife. If it were given to them, it would be nothing if it exploded on his own head. No, upon careful consideration, Zheng Kezang needs to supervise this grenade workshop and prevent criminals from stealing grenade technology. In that case, he can only arrange some round-the-clock sentry tasks for his loyal youth camp, both white and black. For now, let the youth camp endure another hardship. After the first batch of training is completed, the expansion of the youth camp recruitment will also have to be put on the agenda. With more manpower, he will feel secure. Suddenly, Zheng Kezang had a clever idea and called Old Su back to the Divine Thunder workshop for a heated discussion. The more they talked, the more excited and effective they became. Originally, Zheng Kezang was teaching Su Laoqing the concept of assembly line operation, and even with limited manpower, he could have good efficiency. He and Lao Su are studying how many steps need to be taken to make the Dongning divine thunder, and what each step should be done. This way, when the workshop expands in the future, it will be convenient. Just find a small worker and learn one step, and you can quickly get started. This will also be beneficial for some old craftsmen to come forward and help them research new firearms, such as flint guns, in the later stage. This conversation lasted until the evening, and many things were well understood, such as simple hand grenades and assembly line operations. The technical content was not high, but it was not discovered by predecessors. With the guidance of Zheng Kezang, Su Laoqing was enlightened and gained a lot. Seeing the sun about to set, Zheng Kezang, who didn't like to exploit his subordinates, decided not to work overtime today. Everyone should go home from work and warm up their wives and children. Zheng Kezang explained to Eunuch Li again, feeling that there was nothing missing, and then Zheng Kezang left the small workshop with the guard satisfied. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Daily Life of Youth Camp. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors.